I became a STEM ambassador. So I decided I would go and talk to children in schools about my experience, like being someone who didn't like numbers, who didn't have any career ambitions, and how when we don't see that as a blockage, as an issue, we can't get anywhere. I pretty much tell them, just see what you want to go first, and then you think how you're going to get there. And I start also doing a lot of work to empower women, not only technology, but STEM overall. By mentoring them or providing role models. So I created a newsletter that I interview women all around the world about careers in STEM. And something that is quite common across different careers is technology. So technology is an enabler. You can see that all the careers, there is always some element that you have to learn and you have to use it. And then, and you get back to, how can we use technology in an ethical way? And I think BCS is very good with giving that foundation, the understanding as well. And then finally, I have also invested my time because I work with data. We want to make data accessible. And often data is not presented in an accessible way. So I taught myself about the digital accessibility framework, so WCAG, and that was initially developed for web development. And it's like, right, how can we translate this into business intelligence and into data visualizations? And that has been my focus for over a year now. And I've been talking a lot in Microsoft user groups and conferences, how we can make sure that our dashboards, our data visualizations are accessible for everybody. And I also end up releasing a YouTube channel and a blog where I share my experience. And I'm now also trying to help people to start using this kind of tool in the right way and to use it in the, also thinking about, I'm going to use it and make sure that everybody can get insights out of it. I went through a really bad experience that I created a very simple chart. It was a column chart with red, amber, and green. And then after 6 months, my main stakeholder asking me, Juliana, what is in that? I was like, well, what's wrong with it, right? And then after 6 months, I was really annoyed. He said, oh, no, I'm colorblind. I can't see it. And it was really, I was very embarrassed. I was like, I think I've never felt so bad in my career, like judging someone thinking that he was, no, well, go back to school. And it was actually, he had a disability. And I had not thought about it. So that has been another really important point in my career that made me stop and say, right, it's not only about being very technical, it's also understanding how the users will actually use what I create. So that's me in a nutshell. Someone who, I never thought I would be here. I never thought as a child, as a teenager, even my early careers, if someone told me, I would never believe. So don't let your fears or your failures to set you back. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure people have questions. Um, I'm just noticing that we're mid getting our Eventbrite link updated potentially. Thank you very much for that. Sorry. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I can ask them, or you're very welcome to request to unmute and you can ask them yourself. But if I can get things started and say, so you've you've got quite a squiggly career where you've done all sorts of different things and you've got lots of different experiences. So do you have any advice on how people can set goals if they're not entirely sure about where the final destination is in their career? They haven't got an ultimate goal.
So yes, there is something that I always say. So for example, when I was at university, what I work today, it didn't exist. So I think we have to be open minded to technology evolves so quickly. It's new roles and new opportunities are arising every day. So I think the best advice I can give you is keeping your open mind to what may happen. And what it really helps me is not only reading about my field. Oh, I'm not only going to read about data, because what is innovation in data, it may not be innovation in a different industry. So it's really good for you just to be curious overall, understand what's happening, not only with what you work, because that potentially can be what you're going to be doing in the future. So it's very difficult to predict. As I said, I wouldn't have a clue I'll be doing this, but I always been very curious. I always, well, what do you mean? What's that? Let me look it up. Or WCAG, what does it mean? So be curious and open mind, because you will find your path. And don't think that you have to stick to what you do for oh, I'm an engineer, I have to be an engineer for the rest of my life. Absolutely not. It's just a starting point. And I think we have to choose that when you're so young, that it's quite unfair not to be able to try different things, and don't be afraid to change, right? My husband keeps saying, "Oh, but you moved from so many different jobs." So yeah, because I'm figuring out what I want, and I feel like I have the right to move until that's what I want to do now. So that's my advice for you.
Fantastic. We haven't got any questions from anyone else, but I've got a list here, so I'll work through my list. So, have you got any uh, have you got any advice for women in the tech industry, whether they be looking to join in their early career or whether they be looking to advance to the next level?
I think, first of all, don't change who you are, don't change your essence. Because when I went to oil and gas, I thought I have to toughen up. So I changed who I was in a way that I wasn't recognizing myself anymore. So don't feel the pressure that you have to change to fit in. Be yourself. There are difficulties, there are, and speak up. Don't just people say just brush it off. Yeah, it's all right. It's not all right. Don't brush it off, and stand up for what you believe and what you think is right. So that's for me, that's the best thing you can do to put yourself in a position that people will respect you. And they will. It's very difficult to I've been called once a kid. Oh, you kids. I say, yes, I'm a kid, but that's why I've been hired to do that, and you like it or not,
Mhm.
I will do it. So don't be afraid to you're going to be called crazy sometimes. um or, oh, you're Latin, you're so heated. So yeah. So but just don't let people change you. Just be yourself.
I suppose related to that, we had a question about how um, how do you handle the challenges of being the only woman in a team where there's a lot of men, and you're kind of, I think Patricia's trying to say you're only empowered by them, I guess. And what type of issues have you encountered personally, and how have you handled them?
Yeah. So when I worked for oil and gas, it was really bad. Sexual harassment happened several times, and I remember the only one time that I decided to report. I went to have an interview with HR, and the first question that I was asked, "So what were you wearing?" Right? And that's when I realized that it's not gonna go anywhere. So I had a terrible interview trying to explain, to prove, I was wearing overalls and helmet and everything. And then, oh, but do you go to the gym? What do you wear at the gym? So I realized that they're here to prove that I've done it. I'm not the victim. I've done something really wrong. So I decided not to pursue with the case. And a few months later, the guy was promoted, and I got the reputation of being a troublemaker because I was decided to report after several times to report sexual harassment. So it's really difficult to 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 face this kind of situation if you're alone and that feeling that somehow it's your fault. And then the issue that I encountered was like I was often not given the opportunity. Like, oh no, but that guy, he's really good, so he will go and do it. So what? How am I going to be very good if you don't give me the chance, not even to go and watch what they're doing? So there is a lot of preconceptions. Oh no, you're not going to be able to handle it because, you know, you're a woman, you're weak. And there was a lot of hard work, don't get me wrong. But whenever I actually needed help, and I would say, I can't do it. Oh, but it's in your job description. You have to do it. So, you know, it was kind of, when it suits me, you have to do it. Oh, but I don't want you to do the good things, the important things that can get you promoted. So I've been denied having opportunities, and there is nothing you can do. And that's when I realized that, oh, I'm not myself anymore. What am I doing? When I moved to corporate, I start having mentorship. And I think it really helps you navigating certain aspects. So I couldn't say no. At some point, just start working 50 hours a week. And mentorship has been really important for me to recognize that, you know, it is an issue in first place. And you're going to have to say no. Don't be afraid that people will judge you, all because you're doing that because you can't do the job. You're a woman, aren't you? So mentorship, I think if I had earlier, you know, in my career, it would have helped me a lot, because I remember finish a 12-hour shift, going to my cabin and cry because, you know, who am I going to talk to? People think that I'm just hormonal or whatever.
Yeah, that's really, really shocking to hear that you had to go through all of that, and it's good to hear, hopefully, that you've got a bit of a better experience nowadays. But yeah, it's really, really atrocious you had to go through that. Um, Keenan had touched on mentorship as well, so maybe could you expand a little bit on your experience of mentors and how did they support you?
So I'm very fortunate. I have two mentors, and I also mentor other women. My mentors have different. They help me in different ways. So my first mentor started about 2.5 or 2 years ago, when I couldn't say no. I was working 50 hours a week. It was so bad I was forced into sick leave because I was had pneumonia and I couldn't recover. And it helped me first to see my value, to understand what I do. It is something that, oh, it's not just your job. You are delivering, you know, quality. You have, what you do is really good. It's above what is expected, even though that I hope that that's in my job description, because I've heard that so many times. So that has been really good to help me to recognize and celebrate my own achievements. So I always do, I did that. Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. Well, hang on a minute. Are you going to stop and do something about it? So that has been really helpful for me to feel more confident, because I now see, oh, I have achieved all of these, I've done all of these, and it's good, it's great stuff. So I feel more confident professionally and personally. And I also have a second mentor that he start help me to improve my communication. So he said, you have a voice and you should be heard. What are you going to do about it? How can we do it? So I had, after a year of mentorship, trying to understand what was my voice, what kind of message I wanted to say. And that's how I ended up, you know, I'm now speaking at conferences and user groups. And I also do like keynote speaking. I talk about careers. And I still love talking to children, especially primary school children, as a STEM ambassador. So that has helped me as well. I used to be terrified of, I still feel anxious, don't get me wrong, but I feel like even when I watch a video, my first session, and I watch it now, I feel like I can see the difference, right? So I used to hate my voice. Oh, I have an accent. I don't want to hear it. And now I can tolerate my voice. I watch my YouTube videos, like, oh yeah, I need to get something that one better. Um, so that was being really important as well. I feel extremely more confident and able to say no, right? I know my value. No, sorry, I'm not, I don't want to work for you because I don't want to travel. So I can say that. And people look at me, how do you say you was in probation? Yes, I was in probation, but I said no. So I'm really proud of being able to say no now. And mentorship has been really important for me.
Sounds like it's been very, very helpful and very empowering. So continuing on that subject, and apologies to people in the chat because there are lots of questions. I'm just trying to weave everything into a nice narrative. So hopefully you'll forgive me. So do you have any advice for men on how they can be good allies for women in the workplace?
Yeah. So my two mentors, they're a man. right? And it's quite interesting to see how they genuinely are interested, not only on my career progression, but also my well-being. You know, how are you feeling about you when you're facing an issue? What can we do so you don't feel the same way again? So I think the best thing you can do is just listen first, right? Because sometimes we will never know what the other person goes through unless we experience that. So it's just like when I talk about sexual harassment. If you have never been sexually harassed, you will never understand the depth of what it means for who has been the victim, what goes in your head. It's very difficult. So I think that first of all, be a good listener. Listen and don't try to say, "Oh, that's all right," though. Just brush it off. Don't, because it's something that affects us, and even though we can still do our job, we go to bed and that it keeps replaying our minds, and it's not healthy. So if you want to going to be a good ally, first listen to what we have to say and acknowledge that we somehow we don't have the same privilege, right? So I'll talk about my career. I cannot take on certain jobs because I cannot travel because I have a child. And then people, oh, you're very accommodating until, oh, yeah, you have a child, you can't do it. So listen to what we have to say, understand that somehow we are behind, we're trying to catch up on different aspects. And, you know, be that voice that helps. So if you hear someone calling, oh, she's hormonal, you know, be there to say, no, you can't talk like that. It's not about that. And recognize, celebrate women's achievements. You know, it's not like being, oh, that's so boring. It's not, I think it really helps. And then also by doing that, you're gonna also empower the younger generation, because younger girls will see more role models, will see, oh, look at her, I want to be like her. And that's really important as well.
That's lovely to hear. And you've got lots of words of support and solidarity. Yeah, I can see that people have messaged. So yeah, lots of people who kind of been through similar experiences, and well, I'll ask some of their questions in a little bit. But first, someone's asked about CITP and becoming chartered. So what was the best part about going through it? What was the worst part, and were there any challenges, and how did you work through that?
So the first challenge when you start reading about the competencies and what you have to prove, and that was shocking for me. I was like, there is no way. And then I put it aside and I didn't want to know. It's not for me. So I think you have, take your time to process that it looks a lot. Um, so for me, it was like that's when I started realizing that I've done more than I thought. So that's why having a mentor was really good, because it helped me to stop, like, don't panic. Let's read through, and then I will try to say something, and then I will have a CV, right? Like, that's what I've done. All right. So then you have that competence. You just have to elaborate. So it was really difficult to start writing my application because I thought it was not good enough. But it was really empowering as I started writing and realizing, oh, hang on a minute. Yes, I've done that. I've done that. And look what I've done. I've achieved all of these. And now,
Mm,
after I actually got, yes, you are chartered now, that was really empowering, because you make you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to, oh, look to everything I've done. So I stopped after I finished. I have not even submitted the applications. Like, that is already quite an achievement, to be able to sit down and because it makes you start thinking about things you don't like. I've done it over 10 years ago, and you think it's not important, but it is. So it was difficult because you're going to have the first shock of reading what you have to demonstrate, what you have to showcase. And also, it's about what you did. So I was really good to say, oh, we've done it together. And just like, but it's not about your team. It's about what you delivered. It's about what you did. And that was really good, because now I say what I achieved. This is what I delivered. This is what I did. So it was a roller coaster of emotions throughout those 10 months that I spent writing my application. But I think it's really worth, even if you don't want to, if you decide I don't want to submit it, but it was a really good experience to write down, and think about, everything I've done.
It sounds like it was very interesting, but a very, very long application to be sure. I haven't looked into sorting out my chartered status, but I'm sure I'll get round to it at some point, and I'm sure it will take many, many evenings of putting all of that stuff
Yeah.
together. Um, so uh, let me Oh, so someone's asked about careers websites for data analytics and I suppose for data in general. Is there anywhere you might recommend in particular if someone's job seeking? Have you got any job seeking tips?
I don't. I think but if you're starting a career, I think if you haven't got any, if you don't have any professional experience in data, I think that's what I tell all my mentees: create a portfolio. So it's not about you saying, "Oh, look at my certificate, I finished a course." It's what you can actually deliver. And a portfolio is not about saying, "Oh, I use function, I don't know, where in SQL," and you explain what it is, because I'm sorry, that is available in the internet. You can easily find all the functions in SQL, but you have to have a story behind it. You have to have your personal touch. So why did you decided to talk about it? So, for example, I have a blog, and my blog now is actually my portfolio. I never had a portfolio, and I changed the way that I write because it demonstrates this is what Juliana personally experienced, and this is why Juliana personally do things this way. So have your personal touch, explain why you've done that, what is that's something that makes people read and say, "Oh, this is Juliana talking. It's not Copilot. It's not ChatGPT." So investing in having a portfolio that's meaningful, which is not only saying this is what I've done and put a picture, or this is the function that I use and put that in the code, because there are with AI now you can get code anywhere. So it's just what is the context, why you did that, what is the story behind it. So that's a well prepared, a well designed portfolio. Courses, it would depend. There are a lot of free content available. So if you are, so I use Power BI, for example. There are people that I follow if I want to learn about is the language using in Power Query. And there are different people that I follow if I want to get more understanding on DAX. The DAX is the language I use to create measures in Power BI. And there are different people that I follow if I want to do data visualization. So there is a lot of free content that you don't need to pay to access, but it's very difficult to tell you what to do because it's specific to what you're trying to achieve. LinkedIn is really good if you start following certain people that are, they lead in that area, that will help you actually find the right resources.
Fantastic. And of course, I think BCS has lots of career resources as well. So do check out, if you're a BCS member, do check out the things available in the member portal. There's CV tools and there's the mentorship as well. So there's a lot of stuff that you can get through BCS as well if you're a member. Um,
I got a mentor from BCS for my IT chartership application, so it was really good. It's
that
really good to use the resources available.
I was actually about to ask that question. So someone asked, so Deborah has had a similar experience as you did in a very heavily male environment, and so she resonated with that. But she asked about the mentorship. So where did you actually find your mentors, and were they at BCS, your companies, or somewhere
Yeah.
else?
So the one from for my someone I got someone from BCS, because you can actually there is like a match for mentor and mentee, so you can see what you're looking for, and there are people who are listed, and that I just reach out to a couple of people, and one of them got back to me and said, "Oh, so yes, I'm happy. We had some virtual meetings, and he helped me structuring." And then there was one of my answers. They said, "I don't think this is strong enough. I think you need to think about something else." So that was my mentor. That was just for the IT chartership application. When I was at work, so the first mentor I had when I had the issue of working 50 hours, and I asked help, right? There was someone that was helping me on a coding thing, And I mentioned, oh yeah, well, you're so good. You should talk more often. He said, yeah, why not? Right. And then it became like a relationship of a mentorship. And, I quit my job and we agreed that, I wanted to continue. He wanted to continue. And it's been now for more than 2 years that we speak every week. My second mentor that helped me with public speaking, it was on LinkedIn. So I posted something saying, because after I presented a session for my employer on Power BI, and then I presented saying, oh, terrifying. Now I'm terrified of public speaking. And I decided to post it. And then he'd reach out to me. Sorry, I think I'm going to sneeze.
It's all right. I think hay fever is hitting pretty hard today. So
Apologies, it's just hay fever. It's getting
no
really
worries
bad.
at all.
He reached out to me, said, oh, Juliana, I've been through it. It was really difficult for me as well to speak in public. Is there anything I can do to help you? And this guy, he was a Microsoft MVP. He was like, oh my goodness, yes, please, what can we do? And then we start having sessions. We've made it formal. We got some objectives. And then, after I achieve all my objectives, we're supposed to finish. And he decided, so let's try something else. So we continue with the mentorship. I had, for my mentees, for example, some of them reach out directly to me. They actually message me, oh, can I ask your support? Another, if you have as well, so we have here in Manchester a group called Northwest Women in STEM, and we do networking events. So if you go to any in-person networking events, a good place as well. You can start off because you're going to have more experienced professionals, and most of them, they are more than happy to become mentors. And I also put out I opened 2 positions for mentees, so someone who wants to develop designing skills in Power BI. So I offered that on social media, and I selected 2, and I'm starting a different program. So a different way. So my mentor he also asked me if I could mentor someone else. So I think people are more than we know. They are all open. You have to actually get and talk to the person, and you're going to be surprised that if they cannot help you at that time. So there was one girl that she messaged me and said, oh, we had a meeting and said, look, I'm really overwhelmed. I have a lot going on. But after June, if you message me again, we can try to sort something together. So, don't be afraid to see people as we are just human beings. Nobody is a star. It's not about, oh, you know, don't put anyone on a pedestal. Just go there and talk. And you're going to be surprised that people are willing to help if they recognize that you are someone who actually want. Some people, they want mentorship to kind of reinforce what they believe, and we know straight away that you don't need my help, right? Or I cannot help you. But most of people, they are really keen. They recognize that they need help. They recognize that they want to get better, and they want help for that. And it's really good to see that. And most of the people who I mentor, right, I had that connection. It was straight away. You recognize it straight away that they actually want to be mentored. So be keen, try to find who, I think LinkedIn is really good because if you don't like going to speak in person, virtually is easier to reach out because you go, oh, the person's going to say no, or the person's not going to respond. So I think it's a really good networking platform.
Um, Patricia has asked a question, but I'm a little bit unsure what she's referring to. I don't know whether you want to just clarify. I've got a couple of others I can ask. It's just around, I'm not sure whether it's about CITP or whether it was about something else. If you could just make it a little bit more clear, I can ask it in a bit. But I was going to ask, so you mentioned that you'd done some work around data accessibility. So I don't know whether you've got any kind of uh, good examples that you've come across, maybe without naming and shaming, and some bad examples, and what kind of like you've discovered in terms of how we can improve the accessibility of data for people?
So there are a few things that you can do. It's not only about only. I present a session that's about Power BI, and I say, look, this concept it can take anywhere. PowerPoint, Word document, any digital interface. So something for me that's the most shocking is you have a really dark background and a really dark uh, color for, I don't know if you have charts or anything written on it. And I don't have low vision. I don't have any problem with contrast, and I struggle, right? I look at, I'm sorry, I can't be bothered reading this. So that is quite shocking, and the amount of times that I see it happening over and over and over. So I'm an ambassador for a data challenge. So I have to go through all the submissions, and I see it, and and the other big issue is red everywhere. So it's a red background, red, other different shades of red. I look at it and I already feel anxious just to look at all the red on the screen. So bad background, poor color contrast. It's for me that's the worst. People don't know how to use. People don't seem to understand why good contrast between text or graphic elements and background. That's really important. And then you have other issues like really small font, right? Can read a lot. My son, he comes back with homework and it was a tiny letter and he struggles to read. I was like, I cannot read this. I'm not going to ask him
Mm,
to read. So I messaged his teacher, like, can you send a big print, please? Because we are all struggling to read. And you see the same thing on dashboards or on data visualization. Just like, that's ridiculous. How you expect someone to understand this or wanting to look and I want to use it. And then that's why people create these amazing dashboards and not really amazing and they're not used because people cannot look at and understand. So font type, font size, color contrast is always very shocking. That's the worst I've seen data visualization. Of course, you have other elements like nobody use alternative text, for example. Nobody considers who use key navigation, So there are very, very little details that people don't think about. I didn't think about until I started reading about and trying
mm.
to figure out what it means for the tool that I use. So color choice, poor color choice is and typography definitely gets on my nerves. And
It's
it's not only
really
for data, right?
interesting.
If you have a PowerPoint presentation, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting that accessibility is a huge issue still in technology, and I spend most of my time doing web development, and it's a big issue over there. Um, and thankfully, the app that I work on is an internal app, so the standards for accessibility are not as high because it's basically, is it accessible to our employees? Whereas if it was a public website, there'd be a lot more people writing in to complain. But nevertheless, it's something that's front of mind a lot, and it's interesting how still a lot of our tech is not accessible to everyone. And as you mentioned, just little changes on things like colors can help with color blindness and allowing people to adjust text size and things like that. Um, so I said to Patricia that she could ask her question herself. So you're very welcome to unmute and ask.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Juliana. I have so many questions to ask. I'm very fascinated by your story, and the first question I had was in terms of working in a team, which is very challenging, and it sounds like your first job. I mean, the first company you're working for the oil company, it sounds a bit very toxic. So, how would you get information? Let's say if it was like a blaming kind of company where they blame most of the time, and they don't want to be accountable for maybe issues, and maybe let's say they won't share information with you, like they're hiding it from you. How do you handle it? How would you get information from? Was it from your line manager, or where would you get this information from if they were not sharing important update in order for you to maybe meet a deadline or do your work properly?
So it wasn't about sharing. It was not about giving me opportunity to learn. So, for example, we had relational GPS part, right? So I was never given the opportunity to go and learn how to fix it. So because that was part of a professional development for me to get promoted, I would never get good at it. So it was about opportunities other than hiding information. So there was information on the server, there were online courses that I could learn about it, but it was about, right, I read all about it, I know all the theory, how can I actually practice? And that's when I was not given opportunity.
Oh, I see. And the next question I have in terms of mentoring, was it free when you done it? Were you getting free mentorship, or
Yeah.
you have to pay them, or?
No, I never paid for mentorship. So at BCS, you can have a mentor for free if you're a member. I had one, and my sometimes the companies, they do internal mentoring, so usually they have a scheme that you can ask your line manager, and that's for free. And the mentor that I have now, it's and I also don't charge. If I don't have time, if I don't have capacity, I'll say, can we do another time? But I believe that mentorship should be, for people who need it, should be given for free.
Yeah, I agree with it as well. So yeah, that's so far the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the mentorship. There's a lot of great mentors out there who are very happy to support great people for free. And there's I think with BCS we have CITP mentors to help you with that, but we also have career mentors who can help you with broader career goals. So if you're not specifically going for the CITP, you can still get yourself a mentor. And no matter what level you are in your career, I'd wholeheartedly recommend having a mentor in your life, because I've had several and they're very, very useful. Even if it's just verifying that you're kind of on the right track, that if you're a little bit unsure about something, that can really help. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'm going to finish before we jump into the breakout rooms. I'm just going to finish with a question about going back to, you kind of mentioned you've kind of spoken to women in STEM and women in technology, and you've mentored some of them and talked about their experiences. So I was wondering if you had found any differences with technology in particular compared to STEM, and whether there's any kind of learnings or advice that you've taken away overall from your experiences of talking to all those different women across STEM.
So I think mainly I mentor regardless of the tool. So some of them, they want to learn Power BI. But I'm mentoring someone that she wants to specialize in software development. So for me, it's not only about the tool, it's about what we need to do. So, what you're delivering, a portfolio, or, how are you going to let people know what you do? And I think I don't, it's not like I found I heard or learned anything new, but I found many intersections between how I felt in beginning my career without mentorship, all the doubts and all the, oh, I don't know what to do. And I always tell them it's absolutely normal to feel like that. Don't feel like you have to get it all. Don't feel like you have to know all the answers, because that's not how it works. So I think regardless of the area, regardless of the tool, I think everybody feels the same, but some people don't want to say. And that's what I try to tell. It's okay. And I tell them, so look, I'm still figuring out, I'm still finding my way. And for me, that's the common, that's cross who I mentored or who I spoke that I didn't directly mentor. Sometimes it's just a chat, and then that's what the people need to hear a few words. There are a few Brazilians that are living in the UK, and they reach out to me to ask questions. So it's not a mentorship, it's just a conversation. But it's always about, how do I figure things out, right? How do I get started? Or how can I show that I know what to do, what I know what to do, what I know. So that's the common question. That's the common issue. That's not an issue. That's, it's human. It's being human, isn't it? Not knowing what happened. and I've learned that people are really resilient, you know. And I thought that was the only person. Oh, I'm struggling and I'm getting over it, but everybody has their own difficulties. Even my mentors, they have their own difficulties. We are all human, so that's what I've learned, that I'm not the only one I'm not the only one who had difficulties and issues throughout my career. We all do. We all have questions, and I think once we accept that, it's much easier. We start taking easy on ourselves. So that has been good for me for that reason as well.
I think that's a really good place where we can jump off and have a chat with each other in the breakout rooms. Just to reiterate, and I think a lot of people that have come to speak at these webinars in the past have said the same thing, which is, you know, everyone has that doubt and that imposter syndrome early on in their career, and indeed throughout the career as well. So yeah, it's clear that that's something everyone faces.